But God bless you. I pray that all is well. And I don't know what's going on with this system today, yesterday, but I just want to make sure today's Friday, y'all. Today is Friday. Okay. I figured I'd clown myself before somebody else puts a red nose on me. Okay, so I'm so excited about getting to tomorrow that I thought yesterday was today, or today was tomorrow's yesterday. Whatever. Listen, we got some good questions. Some good questions. Some great ones. Some kind of challenging ones. Made me think. Somebody asked a question that made me go back to. You can see these books behind me. Those are my school books from Hebrew, and I had to look up a few things just to make sure that my memory was serving me well. But let's get down to it. There are several questions, and I'm just gonna read them, and then we'll start talking. All right. Um, what does God mean when He says the man has become as one of us to know good and evil? Second question: why did God prevent them from eating from the tree of life? Um, Third question: the passage says God drove them out, or drove out man. What happened to the woman? Fourth question: what is fornication? Okay, um, let's talk. So, with question number one, what did it mean when God said man has become as one of us to know good and evil? Adam and Eve were never to become equal to the creator, or Elohim. He made them in his image. He made him, actually. He made Adam, Ish, which is man. Isha is Hebrew for woman. He made man, or Adam, in his image. And he took from Adam half. So in removing half of Adam, Adam was no longer one. Okay, so I got to back up to the beginning, because after Elohim created everything, He said it was good, and until it was with man, and with man, He says it's not good for man to be all one or alone. Man was all one, and so what He did was He divided man. We say that men and women are wired differently. Um, well, actually, we were all wired the same, but half of us, half of man, of Adam, was removed, not just a rib, but half. When I'm talking about the emotions, the nurturing, and all of the things that we attribute to a woman, because women are just better at some things than men are. Um, I mean, some very um, I'll say not applicable. Okay, for example, please don't get tired of me talking about golf, but when it comes to golf, really, women are better than men. Men get and unless the man is able to control his testosterone and all the things that we think we can do. I can get over that tree. I know I can get around that. Still, if a man and a woman is in the same predicament on a golf course, a woman is going to think it through and just do something that's really simple. A man's going to think I can save a stroke and I can just muscle it up, but a woman's just going to just chip the ball out in the open and then move forward. You had a tournament in Scotland. Rory, who was the world number one, goes into a bunker And instead of just chipping the ball backwards out of the bunker, this pot belly, so it was like 5 feet in front of him. He keeps trying. He ends up 6 strokes into it. Now, Phil Mickelson was in the same bunker, and he saw what Rory did, and it said he played like a woman. That's not an insult. That's a compliment. What did he do? In the back of the bunker, it's low. Just chip it out. So it's still 1 stroke. He chipped it out. Rory took 6 extra strokes, and Phil moved forward, and Rory lost the lead. So when it comes to just thinking things through or remaining calm, now as long as the woman remains calm, then she's good. But if she's going to fight or hurt you, you're going to be in trouble, because she's going to fight with a passion, and a man is going to be a little bit more direct. Anyway, if you put them together, then you had the way man, nothing negative, but you had the way man actually lived. He was created in the image of God, with the capacity to respond the way the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit would respond to things in life. But he was by himself. He was by himself. Okay. I'm sitting by myself, but if there were two of us contained in one, I'm sitting by myself. I'm trying to express what I can see. And so man was all one, not just alone, but the word is all one. And from that one, God created a man with a womb, or we call her wombed man or woman. So Eve was then made from what was already created. You create from nothing, and you form or you make from something that's already been created. So Eve then was created in the image of Adam. And so Ish became Isha. And they already knew God. They already knew what was good. And they lived in the presence of God. And it was only after disobeying that they came to know evil through personal experience. They were never God. They came to know evil through personal experience. So God knows evil without being corrupted by it, because he knows all things. In Colossians, it talks about all things were created by him. So all things come of thee, good and evil. Now, is he the curator of evil? No, but what he created had the ability or the capacity to do evil. So God knew evil without ever being corrupted by it. In Corinthians, 5:21, 1 Corinthians 5:21, where it says that he made him to be who knew no sin to become sin for us, that we might be made the righteousness of God through him. So he's saying that the Father sent the Son, or the Word who became the Son, and the Son, Jesus, never committed sin. He became sin without knowing sin. All right. He took on the sins of humanity. He took on the sin of the first Adam. He became sin, but he never committed sin. He became sickness. He bore our sins and our sicknesses in his body, and he paid the price, the penalty for sin. Sickness comes into the earth because of sin. And we're gonna revisit that in another question. I can see how it's almost as though one person sent these questions. Good morning. It seems that way. So God knows evil without being corrupted by evil. humanity, Adam and Eve, they learned evil by participating in evil. So their eyes were open, but innocence was lost. Their eyes were open, but innocence was lost. And I talk about some other stuff when this happened, because there's more things that went into this story before we get to the second question. I think it's around the third chapter. Before we get there, with them hiding from God and trying to cover the glory of God that was still on them. Isn't that something? The light, they tried to cover it with leaves, and then the Lord made a skin to cover the glory, to cover them. That gets into something else. All right. Um, it wasn't that they were that God, that the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit had been corrupted by evil. They were never corrupted by evil, but they knew good and evil. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, we can go a little bit further. Please text me again on Monday, because today's Friday, and we can talk about it some more. All right. Why did God prevent them from eating from the tree of life? Well, he removed them from the garden because they would have lived forever in the condition that they were in that fallen, sinful condition. There would have been no redemption. So the expulsion from the garden before they remembered. See, I often say that sin will make you stupid. Sin made Adam forget that all he had to do was go to the tree of life, take of that tree, and and live forever. Adam would still be here, and every human, death would never have entered into this world. Can you imagine that? Trillions of people who have walked the earth, or who have lived, trillions of them. We're just in what, 7 billion, somewhere around there, 7.4 billion people, or is it 8.1 or whatever? There's a lot of folks on the earth right now. But imagine everyone who was ever born still living. That's a lot of people. So there was always a plan. Yeah, there was a plan, and the plan was to show mercy. And mercy says there's going to be redemption, and I'm going to bring you back into the place of authority that you had from the beginning. So it was both being, there was judgment and there was mercy. So God blocked the immediate access to the tree of life, immediate access to the tree of life. But he didn't destroy the promise of eternal life. So through Christ, through the seed of the woman, through Jesus Christ, he redeemed humanity, and he's restored, because Jesus is now the tree of life, and all we need to do is come to him. We can take of him, and we can eat, we can consume him, and we will live forever. We're going to live forever, but in the presence of the Father. So we're not going to die, maybe a physical death, but there's going to be a resurrection for everybody, good and bad, righteous and unrighteous. So he drove humanity out of the garden. To say man is still to say woman. So woman was not excluded. When you read this story there in Genesis, what you see is that he put a seraphim there, a cherubim there with a flaming sword to keep the way of the tree of life, not keep people away, but to provide, ensure that there is light and a path to the tree of life. And we find that in Jesus Christ. There's salvation is in no other. There's only one way. Someone said, well, there are many roads to Rome. Yeah, but there's one road to Jesus Christ. That's it. He is the door. There's one way. There's one way from, it's only through Jesus that you can be in a relationship with the Father, with Elohim. Salvation is in no other name. It's in no other authority. It's Jesus only. Hello. Believe it or not, you'll find out. So I'm going to confess right now, Jesus is Lord. And my life should make the same claim. The passage that he drove man out. Okay, so Eve was kicked out with him because they're one. The word man, we always look toward the male, but remember that man, the female, is the man with a womb, the wombed man. If I needed a heart and there was a woman who had the same heart and she's passed, she had the same, it was compatible for me, not necessarily my DNA, but the heart was compatible. It doesn't matter if it comes from a male or a female. If I needed a kidney, then my sister could give me a kidney if I paid the right price. Just kidding. No, my sister could give me a kidney. So it doesn't matter when it comes to the body. The difference is the womb. The one has a womb and one does not. And so there would be a perfect fit between the man and the woman to procreate and beyond. So Adam was emphasized first because he was formed first. He was created, and he held the covenant responsibility with Elohim. But both Adam and Eve lost access to the garden. Both of them did. Well, you're going to find that in Genesis 4. But and then it shows them living outside of the garden and living together. Okay. What is fornication? And this ties to something that we talked about the other day, answering a question concerning cohabitation or common law marriages. That's what that ties to. Common law marriages. Let me just say this directly, that fornication is we understand to be sexual intercourse outside of marriage. Okay, but you said common law, people just shacking. Remember that we identified marriage, and I don't want you to think that that marriage is a Western ideal, and if it's not done the way that we're accustomed to it, let me just throw back what God said to me. He said, what makes you think I can only move according to your experience? I'm bigger than your past. I'm greater than your future. I am God. That's what he told me years ago. Messed me up. But it's so, just because, and Jesus said to the disciples that, because they were saying, hey, you know what, there's people in this other city, they're casting out devils, they're doing the things that you're telling us to do. And we wanted to stop them. Jesus said, I have sheep who are not of this fold. Just because you don't see them and they do things differently doesn't mean that they're not of me. Now, when it comes to marriage, remember, marriage is the covenant. It's a covenant. It's a covenant. And in some countries and cultures, in Kenya, for example, they recognize various tribal or cultures from Christian to Muslim to the Hindu and whatever. So whatever culture's there, they legally recognize their customs and their cultures, their traditions when it comes to marriage. With some cases, in some countries, it's a matter of a contract or an agreement. So when two people go into this agreement, it's marriage. When two people, maybe it's their families who have negotiated a an agreement or a covenant. So through negotiations, this marriage has taken place between this man and this woman. So or so it's going to be cultural. But in the West, a wedding is not, and a marriage is not just a white dress, an aisle, people, witnesses, and whatnot. I can tell you the most, I don't want to say ridiculous, or the strangest. Now, you all help me with this one, because when I was at Langley, I did a wedding in there's like a cherry tree garden or orchard, and it was during the time of the blooms. The blooms were falling like pink and white, and a little bit of red snow. It was beautiful. The generals were there. We had the commander of Tactical Air Command. We had 4 and 3 and 2-star generals present, colonels everywhere. And I'm doing this wedding because the woman was an administrative assistant to one of the generals. So we're there at headquarters, Tactical Air Command, as it was called then. And this beautiful wedding. I mean, I talked to them before. I don't remember her name, but I remember his name was Robert. And he was in combat support group. And so we did this wedding, and it was the first one that I did in the state of Virginia. And they went on a cruise. They went on a 6-day cruise. It was the leave that they had, a 6-day cruise. And I took the paperwork to the county clerk. And that's the custom. The solemnizer or the pastor, the minister, would then turn in the paperwork. Some you can just drop it in the mail, but I forgot to do my beard. Some would just drop it in the mail, but I took it in. And when I took it in, this is what was funny to some, but not to me. I took it in, and they didn't just receive the paperwork. They opened a book, and they was looking for my name. And I said, "You're looking for my name for what?" And she said, "When you came into the Commonwealth state of Virginia, did you come into this office and register with us?" And I said, "I did not. I didn't know I was required to. My papers, my documents, and I'm presenting them to you now. It shows that I can establish ministries and do weddings, funerals, and baptisms worldwide." And they said, that's true. You can do it worldwide, but not in the Commonwealth state of Virginia. If you don't come into our state and register with us here at this county in the office, then we will not recognize anything that you've done. And I said, wait, hold on. So now I did this wedding. They're solemn, and they said, "Sir, they are not legally married." I said, no, I blessed them. I prayed for them, did all this. And they said that we do not recognize any works that you've done in the state of Virginia. And I said, "So are you trying to tell me that I just prayed for this man, this woman, I sent them out on a boat to fornicate for the next 6 days?" Because they're fornicating. If they're not married, they're fornicating. And they're cracking up in there. And I'm not laughing. I said, "I don't find any of this funny." I said, "Can I just pay you the fee now, and you put my name in the book, and can you just back?" They said, "No, sir, we cannot. Now you can register with us now." And I said, "Okay, well, I need to register now." And they said, "We'll tell you what, we're not going to charge you for this new license." But they printed it up, the license, and they said, "You're just going to have to perform the ceremony again when they come back from their 6-day cruise of fornication. And they're still laughing, and I'm not laughing at all. Normally I can find a joke in everything, but this is serious to me, and can you feel this is still bothering me a little bit? Um, and and so when they came back, I explained it to them, and they thought it was funny. I said, "Why does everybody find this funny?" And so Robert had to go right back to work. He had a part-time job working at Mel's Diner. It was there on Mercury, was it Mercury Boulevard, Mercury and Coliseum. It's gone now, but so I called him and I said, okay, this way he was a short order cook. And it couldn't have been at the most worst time of the year. What do I mean? Because it's down the street from the Coliseum. And at the Coliseum was the National Baptist Ministers Convention. And these Baptist preachers were everywhere, in every dining hall, every place where you can eat. So Robert said, okay, well, brother, then why don't you just go and pick up my girlfriend? And he's laughing. And he said, I've called her already. If you can go pick her up then and bring her out here, then we can sign the paperwork together. So he told his boss what was happening. And I get out there with his girlfriend, his fiance, his wife. All right. Would you have called her girlfriend, fiance, or wife at that point? So we get out there. The place is filled with Baptist ministers. And we only he had his hat on and his apron, and he had some orders on the grill. So he comes out with the spatula in his hand. I didn't have a lot of time. And the owner announces what's going on. And so everybody's quiet. And I said, okay, Rob, you remember the things that you said you was going to do the other day when we thought that you're married? All the stuff that we talked about before. Do you still feel the same way about this girl? And he says, I do. And I said, okay, what about you? You still going to do all the stuff you said you was going to do the other day concerning this man? She said, I will. And I said, okay, Kiss, you're married. Sign here. It took maybe 30 seconds. And the folks was looking, they were frowning and all, and they were murmuring. These Baptist preachers, I'm telling you, I'm reliving the moment. And then the owner said, everybody, we had a wedding, so all of your meals are on the house. And now they want to clap. You did a good job. I said, you hypocrites. I left. Yeah, because you all were just talking bad about me, and now you're praising because you get your chicken is free, whatever. Okay, I digress. I might need a little sip of cool water to calm myself. But when it comes to, so they were married. They had entered into a covenant relationship. I get that. I wasn't thinking. I didn't think all of that through, that, everything is good. They entered into this covenant relationship. They even according to Western ideals or the law. There was a lot of Southern Baptists. Yes, ma'am. But they may not have been legally married, but would you agree that they were married in the eyes of God? Were they out fornicating? They thought they was married. I thought they was married. Everybody thought they was married until it came to the paperwork, because I had not registered. And so whatever state I go into now, I check before, if I'm going to do a wedding, I'm checking with the county. I'm pulling up their laws. What do they require for this to be legally recognized by that state? And it's something that throughout the United States, and then even the Commonwealth states vary in their rules. So some will recognize it and others will not. So when it comes to fornication is sex outside of marriage. Were they really fornicating? I would say no, they were not. But the New Testament word, which is going to be Greek, is porneia. It means sexual immorality, and really, There's a Latin root, which is fornix, which it talks about sex or illicit sex in brothels. So it's sex that's outside of the marriage covenant. Um, Now, and here's the thing, because I told you that I had to go to my Hebrew and look up the what is it that Jesus would have said, whether it's in Aramaic, is Zanuta, and then or Naaf for and it talks about sexual unfaithfulness, and then it comes down to this, uh, what fornication is. It all comes down to a figurative unfaithfulness toward God. No matter the language, you're going to see fornication, you see prostitution, harlotry, sexual immorality, and illicit sex. And it all comes down to a figurative, um, uh, like types and shadows, but it's unfaithfulness toward God. Unfaithfulness toward God. So uh, I hope that helps. This is not an excuse for, you know, to say that their culture, some cultures, a man can have multiple wives. We talk about that, but it's against the law in the United States. There are some cultures where you're able to do things that's against the law in the United States. So many people, not just for the what we would call polygamy, but also in some cultures, a woman can have multiple husbands. You want to know where that culture is? No, I ain't telling you. So there's things that are different in from culture to culture. One of the things that I stress to ministers when we're going out to do the work in other cultures is learn the culture, find out what's offensive. I've been cut off by a group of ministers who invited me to come in and talk to them. It must have been about 30, 40 of them. They were going to do ministry in Africa for the first time. And I asked them, well, where are you going, and what's your focus? And when they told me, I said, you can't go in with that message. I said, we're going in to tell them to stop with the multiple marriages. We're going to do this. I said, so you're going in to attack their culture, and for what reason? Why are you going to attack their culture? Because once you offend them, it's going to be hard to reach them. So why? And they said, well, people are dying. AIDS was rampant there at that time, and families were being wiped out, and because of the law of possession, so if an inheritance. So if I were to die, then my brother would now, uh, my wife would become the property of my brother. So I mean, now women, imagine that. If your husband were to die, then you would have to be married to his brother. You just become the property, and there's no ceremony necessary. Whatever it is that he wants to do, if he wants you to have babies, then you'd have to have a baby for the man who was your brother-in-law, but now your husband. Well, that's their culture. And so this group of people, they were going in to attack that culture. And I said, you're going to lose all of them. You can't do that. Number one, because it's not against the law. Well, God doesn't know. If you're going to do Bible, then stick with Bible. But the Bible does not condemn that in that culture. That's condemned in this society. Well, that's not the way that it was mentioned. And God never, so I gave them some scriptures, and they said, okay, well, I didn't see that before. So if you're going to reach them, do it through medical, do it through health, and just be honest with them and say, this is the reason why we need to stop this. But you don't go in attacking the culture because it's wrong. It's not wrong there. It's wrong here. Now, there are some things that's just wrong, like human sacrifice and that kind of stuff. There are some things that's just wrong. But when it comes to what we call fornication, our understanding of fornication, fornication is still sex outside of the marriage covenant. And there's reasons why he says don't do it, because of the intertwining of the soul. You have soul ties, and because of the oneness and how connected you become with the person you've had sex with. So he says, don't do it. I want your desire and everything to be connected to the one that you're in covenant with. And so to do it outside of the covenant marriage, the covenant relationship. And I'm not talking about people who just living together saying, okay, we agree that we're going to live like husband and wife. No, I'm talking about covenant. And in the United States, in this culture, if this is where you are, then you have got to enter into covenant. If you go into the justice of the peace and you're saying, well, you know, this was just something we did so we can have sex. Well, it's still covenant. No matter how you get into the house, once you get into that house called covenant, this is the thing that cannot be destroyed. You can't do away with it. It's covenant between a man and a woman. This is what was established by God in the Word of God. Now, everything that he's done, the enemy tries to pervert or contort or to twist to make it seem like something else is okay. But this is what he recognizes, dude. Okay, and that's probably getting ready to open the door for something else. But I'm not going to open that door. I'll let you do that if you want to go through that. But anyway, I hope that answers your questions. You understand what God meant when he said for man has become as one of us, or why did he prevent them, separate them from the tree of life? Because that was judgment and mercy again, or he drove them out, and it wasn't just Adam, but it was Ish and Isha, the man and wombed man, because they were one. Remember, they were one. When you see my wife, I told folks, I said, you see me. I have this thing at Jubilee in our in my no, I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, it's called ex facto. Ex facto. So when my wife is speaking, so she has authority to go into meetings. When she speaks, I'm speaking. So that's why we got to be on the same page. So if there's something that she's saying, this is something that I'm saying. If and I have the same with Chanel and with Matthew. They are members of the executive ministry team. You don't have to come back to me after you've spoken with them. That's good enough. You've already spoken with me. But that's what I have. I pray that you're blessed. Today is Friday. Tomorrow is the Sabbath day, or seventh day. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sunday morning in person at Jubilee Training Center and online here on YouTube, Facebook, or Church Center. I thank God for each one of you. For those of you who asked the questions, again, if you need a little bit more clarity, I can give it to you. But let's send me more questions if you have them. For those of you who are on YouTube and Facebook, if you want to hear a little bit more of this conversation, not necessarily from me, from those others who are listening, you can come on over to Clubhouse and join Conversations with Dr. Jerome. And you'll also be given an opportunity to speak if you have something you'd like to voice. I look forward to seeing you there. But Lord bless you, the Lord keep you. Remember, this is the year of evangelism. And we're concerned with every heart, every home, every nation. If you meet them and you greet them, do it in the name of the Lord. Pray for them. Speak boldness over you. So you pursue anybody who recognizes you. If they smile, God bless you today. Jesus loves you. Something. May I pray for you? Something. We're going to reach everybody. who comes into our path for Jesus Christ. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. Remember, you're empowered to prosper because you apply the word. We'll see you soon. I'm now releasing my mic. Moderator, do you have it?